Ruben Nyobè, the voice France tried to silence. His name was Ruben Nyobè, also written Ruben Nyobè. He was a Cameroonian trade unionist, political organizer, and anti-colonial leader who demanded that Cameroon be reunited, governed by its own people, and freed from European control. Among the Bassa people, he became known as Mpodol, meaning the spokesperson or voice of his people. JusticeInfo.net. Born under colonial rule. Ruben Nyobè was born in 1913 in the Bassa region of Cameroon. At the time, Cameroon was still under German colonial occupation. Following Germany's defeat in World War I, the territory was divided between French and British administration under international mandates. JusticeInfo.net. After attending Presbyterian schools, Nyobè entered the colonial civil service. He later became active in the trade union movement, where he witnessed how colonial authority controlled African labor, land, wages, and political participation. JusticeInfo.net. The Union of the Peoples of Cameroon. In 1948, Nyobè helped establish the Union des Populations du Cameroun, commonly known as the UPC. As its Secretary General and most influential leader, he transformed the organization into a national movement seeking the independence of Cameroon, the reunification of the British and French-administered territories, social and economic justice for the Cameroonian people. The movement crossed ethnic and regional boundaries, challenging colonial efforts to divide Cameroonians against one another. JusticeInfo.net. Taking Cameroon's case to the United Nations. Nyobè believed that Cameroon's struggle should be presented before the world. Because Cameroon was administered as a United Nations trust territory, he argued that France did not possess the moral or legal authority to treat the country as a permanent colony. He repeatedly carried Cameroonian petitions and demands before United Nations bodies. Historical UN records identify him as the UPC's Secretary General and document demands for the immediate reunification and earliest possible independence of Cameroon. Digital Library. He did not ask France to improve colonialism. He demanded that colonialism end. The movement is banned. As support for the UPC increased, French colonial authorities intensified surveillance, arrests, and political repression. After violent unrest in 1955, the French administration outlawed the UPC on July 13, 1955. Nyobè was forced underground in the forests of his native Bassa region. JusticeInfo.net. From hiding, he continued directing the independence movement. He maintained that Cameroon's people had the right to determine their political future rather than accept leaders and institutions selected under French influence. The conflict grew into a largely hidden war of decolonization. The United Nations later described Nyobè as the leader of a determined struggle for Cameroonian sovereignty during the late 1950s. Africa Renewal. Assassinated Before Independence. On September 13, 1958, French-led forces located Nyobè near Bumniebel and shot him. He was approximately 45 years old. JusticeInfo.net. Cameroon formally achieved independence from French administration on January 1, 1960, less than 2 years after the man who had demanded that freedom was killed. Armed resistance associated with the UPC continued, and counterinsurgency operations extended into the post-independence period. Africa Renewal. Trying to erase the Mpodol killing. Nyobè was not enough. For years, authorities restricted public discussion of him, the UPC, and Cameroon's war for liberation. His name was treated as dangerous because remembering him raised difficult questions about how independence had been achieved and who had been prevented from leading the new nation. justiceinfo.net. In December 1991, Cameroon adopted legislation officially rehabilitating historical figures who had contributed to national consciousness and independence, including Ruben Nyobè. Yet the struggle to restore his rightful place in African history has continued. justiceinfo.net. His legacy. Ruben Nyobè was not merely fighting to replace European officials with African officials. He envisioned a Cameroon that was reunited, politically independent, socially just, and controlled by its own people. He carried that demand from Cameroonian villages to the chambers of the United Nations. France attempted to answer his arguments with prohibition, military force, and assassination. But the Mpodol was not erased. Ruben Nyobè became the voice of a nation before that nation was allowed to speak for itself.